picking up on that.
Yeah.
But they might cut. I'm sorry. My mother-in-law's here now. No, I know. We've got activities. How are you?
Good to see you.
I was just curious. Yeah. Thank you. You're welcome. How's it going? Good to see you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry, we're getting started a little bit late. Clerk, if you could go ahead and call the roll, please.
Senator Albritton?
Here.
Senator Carnley? Senator Coleman? Senator Gudger? Senator Hatcher? Senator Hovey? Senator Kelly? Senator Coleman Madison?
Here.
Senator Chambliss? Senator Elliott?
Here, we have a quorum. Thank you all. Guys, I'm going to move around since we got Senator Kitchens here, and I know he is a busy guy. So, Senator Kitchens, if you could hop up with SB 142, members, that is the second tab in your notebook.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. SB 142 just removes one little section right now in our current state code. It amends for the Electronic Registration Information Center, which is a private business that collects people's information, and it says that when using information for voter registration, you have to use a national database.
Move for passage.
I have a motion for favorable report by Senator Kelly, a second by Senator Hatcher. Senator Coleman Madison.
This is the one that Secretary of State, because it got out of the other system and they've created their own.
Yes, and we actually, there's multiple states that use this same system. So we have agreements with Tennessee, Louisiana, Arkansas, Florida, Mississippi, Georgia, Kentucky. So the states around us right now are doing similar things. But this system we currently don't use, but it's still in state code that it could be used. So it's to remove that from the state code.
But I want to thank the Secretary of State's office for bringing this and coming by and explaining it, because when people die, nobody thinks to call the Board of Registrars to say so-and-so is passed or what have you. People move oftentimes to adjacent states and you don't know that. And we have no way of being able to track it. And I understand there's a link that you all would be able to get that information, whereas in the past you've not been able to. Mr. Chairman, I'll move for approval, final passage.
So I've got a motion and a second already, and I think anybody else got any comments or questions? Okay, clerk, call along.
I just want to make a comment. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Just, after talking to the Secretary of State's office and just the innovation that went into developing this, and I said it to them, if this is something that we patent and other states are buying into, there should be we ought to be able to make money off of it. We need more money in the general fund. So and I do want to commend them as well for this work.
Wes, I don't know about you, Senator Kitchens, but I don't think they were nearly as nice to him when he was the rules chairman.
I don't think so either.
Everybody's all nice to him. Clerk, call along roll, please.
Senator Albritton?
Aye.
Senator Carnley? Senator Coleman? Senator Gudger? Senator Hatcher? Senator Hovey, Senator Kelly,
Aye.
Senator Coleman Madison, Senator Chambliss, Senator Elliott.
Aye. Bill receives a favorable report. Thank you, Senator Kitchen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee.
Thank you. Senator Barfoot has SB 158 next down on your agenda. Senator Barfoot, I know you're a busy guy. I'd like to have you in and out so you can go add more stuff to your Judiciary Committee agenda for us to deal with.
Well, we're looking forward to it tomorrow. Mr. Chairman, thank you. Members, very simple bill, a couple of pages. It just, as the synopsis says, it makes sure that if somebody has a foreign national driver's license, that's perfectly fine, but that can't be used for providing a valid photo ID identification when registering to vote.
Seems reasonable to me. Anybody got any questions? Yes, ma'am.
What would that driver's license look like?
Well, it depends on which country it comes from, because somebody comes here from Saudi Arabia and has a foreign national driver's license, that would look different than it would if it were from England or.
Would they be able to drive through Alabama?
Under a foreign national driver's license, I believe that they would be able to drive under current law, and this would not affect that. This just simply says you cannot use that form of identification. It is found in the code, a foreign national driver's license to register to vote because. I
totally agree with the bill. It's just that I think our laws that we are passing are very contradictory. You know, we just passed one. Oh, Senator Elliott.
It was.
Yeah. You all didn't talk to each other, but the one, and this is one that is issued within the United States, although it be another state. But here we got somebody from a whole nother country coming in, and we say, they can drive. They can go anywhere they want to, and we're not going to stop them. Your bill is fine, but I'm just saying that these things are contradictory that we pass, and, you know, y'all been having all this lunch together. Don't y'all talk? Okay.
Okay. Do I have a motion and a second already yet? Senator Coleman Madison, you want to move favor report? The chair will second it. Any objection to using previous role? Okay. Bill receives favor report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good job, Senator Barfoot. Senator Chambliss has SB 171.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. We're having a problem in my area, and we've had it for a while, and some of y'all may have as well, with side-by-sides and four-wheelers and utility-type vehicles that are going up and down our stream beds, our creeks. They're going up into private property, partying, having a good time, leaving the litter and all the other unmentionables there, and just really devastating some properties. And the problem is a navigable waterway is considered a public right-of-way, just like a road. But when that law was written, we didn't have all these vehicles and that sort. It was meant for conveyance, moving things in a small boat or something like that. And now there's a whole different purpose, and their law enforcement's not able to enforce or move them on because it's a public conveyance, waters of the state. So this bill tries to thread the needle of leaving the navigability issue as it is, but if these vehicles are not made for that, they would be able to be subject to citation.
Senator Hatcher.
Question, because I'm assuming the reason it's not a local bill is because you mentioned the law, I guess. Is this an amendment to our Constitution in terms of navigable ways, or?
No. We're trying to, I'm trying to stay away from changing the navigable issue whatsoever, because that is very deep rooted into our law and a lot of court cases and that kind of thing. So what has changed is not the original purpose of navigable. What has changed are the vehicles that now have wheels and tires on them that are trying to go through these stream beds. And if y'all want to see a quick video, I'll show you one.
It's a bunch of side-by-sides running up a creek.
I mean, imagine you're on your back porch trying to enjoy your property, and this is what's coming up and down all times of night and everything else.
Is that a road that they're going through?
It's a creek.
Okay, I got you.
Mr. Chair,
Senator Kelly.
Senator Chambliss, Help me wrap my mind around this a little real good. It's basically talking about, I mean, people can do what they want to on their personal private property. What you're doing is saying that if someone outside comes into someone's property using the riverbed as an access, that's what this is dealing with.
That's
Is that
correct. That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
How will you know, they have these ATVs and they come from everywhere. They get together. So will there be something, does your bill say anything about anything that is posted or anything? How would people know? Because this is a statewide bill. It's just not a community. It may be right now an issue in a particular community, but it's a law that will pass that will impact the state. And so how are we notifying people or posting? What is being done as far as notification?
Well, I would say because of the defensive nature of these people, they already know they shouldn't be doing it.
Okay, but that's
That's not your question. I'm sorry. What would happen is a homeowner or landowner would call the law enforcement. Law enforcement would come out, and most likely they would tell them, you can't do this anymore, leave, blah, 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 blah. And at some point in time, then they would have to just know this is the law because that's the way all of our laws are. But word will get around really quick with these groups.
We hope, I'm just hoping that something is put out through conservation or whatever, or do they have to have a permit? Do they have to get licensed to drive these things? Okay.
So some of them are licensed, but in general, no. There are a lot of them that are not licensed. Yeah.
Because it could be, the law could be administered discriminately. And so I just want to make sure that everybody's treated fairly. And, you know, they say ignorance of the law is no excuse. So, you know, I could arrest you because you didn't know when nobody knows.
Sure, sure.
Senator Albritton.
This doesn't affect our canoes or rowboats then?
No, sir.
So you can still do the canoe and still do the rowboat, and you can still do and the motorboat or something like that?
That's correct.
Okay, but if it has wheels or tracks, that's the limitation?
Unless, so.
Don't confuse this.
I'm not, but it needs to be clarified, and I appreciate the sponsor working with me on this. And so if you start looking at line 28, and it's the bottom of page 1 going into page 2. Senator Albritton, you and I represent an area that has a lot of water, right?
Yep.
There are all kinds of amphibious vehicles out there that have both wheels and tracks and our watercraft as well. And so what I wanted to make sure was that we didn't end up in a situation where our duck boats and their tours or any of these, Senator Chambliss has gotten some interesting videos from some kind of specialty amphibious type things that, you know, get used. And so I think we're safe saying if it's a watercraft or a vessel designed for transportation, it's fine. Mm-hmm. We just don't want the dirt bikes and the quads running up and down the creeks.
Right.
It's causing all kinds of environmental damage and access and property there.
The bottom of page 1, the term does not include a vessel or other watercraft designed for transportation on water.
Yeah.
So shared your concern and was able to get through that. Any other questions for the sponsor? Senator Chambliss moves favorable report. Senator Albritton seconds it. Any objection to using the previous roll? Bill receives a favorable report. Thank you, Senator Chambliss.
Thank you all.
Absolutely. Okay. We're going to go back up to the top of the agenda if we can. Try to always put me last if I can for time constraints. Is Senate Bill 5, deals with the Archives and History Board and the makeup of it and the appointing authority of the board. Having a lot of conversations about appointing authorities and boards here lately. But this is one we've heard before. I think it is, I've worked with the Archives and History Department and their folks on this piece of legislation. I think it is reasonable to say that they are neutral on the bill. They're probably not thrilled with it. I can tell you it's not where I had it, but I'm also kind of neutral on the bill, which might mean that we've compromised enough to move it along. And so just to be clear, what this bill does is it gives the governor 8 appointments to the board, and it gives the speaker 4, and it gives the pro tem 4 appointments. That adds up to 16. It puts the governor as a voting member of the board, which is the 17th member. She's an ex officio member now. There is all of the diversity language in there, all of the different congressional district language. So we got the geographic and racial diversity language in there. And one of the pro tem's appointments and one of the speaker's appointments come from a list compiled by the minority leader. And so they are picked from the minority caucuses in both the House and the Senate. And that's the bill. Questions?
How many people serve on the board now? No, this increases it. Let me see.
Well,
Increases it to 19.
yes, ma'am. I think the increase is the addition of the governor as a voting member. And so currently the governor serves as an ex officio member, but that increased language in the synopsis is letting the governor be a voting member.
So, what, we got 14 members, 15?
So if you look through the sub, and just to be clear, and I'm sorry, I should have pointed this out to begin with, the sub is in the left-hand pocket of your, I got started too soon and ahead of myself. So there's the sub, there's the compromise, and the one that everybody's so wonderfully neutral on.
Increase the members, what?
And so that increased member, so we're all looking at the same thing, is the
17.
Is the 17. And that 17 is going, again, is adding the governor as a voting member.
So you got 12-member board right now.
And then Linda, you'll have to forgive me.
Yeah, 12 and 5, 17.
Okay.
Let me ask you, does
Yes,
the
ma'am.
current board have any particular qualifications?
No,
And these have any?
it's really a self-appointing board right now. And so one of the conversations and one of the reasons the governor's office is pretty heavily on one side of this with the 8 appointments was some comments back from Archives and History about the governor really having the staff to vet these appointments to make sure that they have folks that are really interested in this and have some knowledge in that. So that was the reason that this is done this way, is to let the governor's appointment staff kind of work through that.
The only thing that I would like to say on this is that, for decades now, I never even knew who was on the Board of Archives. I think they do an outstanding job. I mean, you can just look throughout, even down in the tunnel and in the archives building itself, and rotating the displays. And as I understand, they don't get paid. It's a volunteer job. Maybe they get paid stipends or whatever for expenses of traveling down here. But the trust and integrity of the board, I think, is important in maintaining, simply because these artifacts, a lot of them are in individual homes, and they have to build a relationship with these people, and they have to go out and solicit and what have you. And so I think they're just as concerned about the quality, because it is their legacy that they're leaving behind, and I think they've done an outstanding job with that. So I just don't want to diminish that, and I don't want that to be lost on us. For years, they've been doing an outstanding job, and I think they're doing a good job now of telling the history of Alabama, the whole history. You can't pick and choose history. It's the facts. So I want to thank them for putting the facts out, and maybe some things that I don't like, However, maybe a display I don't have to go see. But if it's history and it happens, and that's what it's all about, that's what archives is all about, portraying and telling that story. Because somewhere down the line, we may find out that a lot of us are tied to that history that we didn't know about. So let's not try to pick and choose and leave it out. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, yes, ma'am.
Why did you make that face?
I was keeping in my,
He made a face. He made a face.
I was trying to keep my sub organized in my head, and I wanted to make sure I got the sub adopted.
There's a lot going
So
on
I'm gonna have to
Ed.
take that and I will accept that face was not about me.
Of course not.
Well, I don't know if it's gonna stay that way. So, of course, I do remember this bill and the public hearing that we had around this bill. And it was, just to simplify it, sad to see the members that have served so many years and supported Archives and History. And especially when I'm coming from the place as the former chair of boards and commissions. We came up, there used to be a time when Democrats and Republicans, there was a Democratic chair and a Republican vice chair, and Howard Sandiford served as my vice chair, and then we flipped, when the changeover came. We used to work together, so we came up with the congressional districts and how these, and the diversity language and all of that. And I think what I'm disheartened by, because a lot of work went into developing these boards and commissions through the years in partnership with both Democrats and Republicans. And now, a lot of these boards, and especially this one now, folks are trying to, in my opinion, to stack it with more partisan-leaning people. And it shouldn't be that. Again, as my colleague has just said, history is history. It is what it is. And then and this is not directed at you at this point, the portion I'm gonna make now, but the direction that we've seen nationally with labeling DEI as something bad, or any people that are not white and male, as if they haven't earned the jobs or have not fully participated. And so when I see bills like this, especially with what we hear nationally and the public hearing that we had last year, it's moving in the wrong direction, in my opinion, for us coming together in some level of camaraderie. Again, there's a lot of folks that are now going to be a part of this appointment that are going to be more conservative leaning. I mean, that's that's what's going to ultimately happen. And my fear then is great Americans, great Alabamians who are a part of shaping the state that we live in, their issues, their significance in history may not be as prevalent if it becomes so partisan leaning. And what we tried to do then, why we did it the way that we did, was to take the partisanship out of it. And so I'm just worried, and I have to say it. So again, I don't, as I opened, you still red face now, right now though, you still red. You're still red. But I just wanted to go on record to say that I just don't think this is the direction that we should be moving in. I think we ought to really leave a lot of the national politics out of Alabama, because we do better when we do that. We actually get along, we like each other. What goes on in Washington, D.C., that's something completely different. And again, this bill, the way that it is written now, I shudder to think that it pushes us in the national direction, and that's why I'm gonna be voting no.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other comments or questions?
I'm not gonna vote against your bill. I'm going to try to trust. That's a habit that I have. And I'm going to wait and see, as the public will be waiting to see, and hopefully my colleagues' words don't come to pass. I don't have a problem with expanding the board and adding new people to it. I think we just all need to be cognizant. We are writing our own legacy every day by the laws that we pass and the things that we do, and they will be there written in history for our children, your children, because I don't have it, your children to see, and your grandchildren. Like, Granddad, why'd you do that? So anyway, we want them to be positive. But I probably would abstain. Thank you.
So at this point, I'm gonna move the adoption of the sub. Do I have a second? Senator Albritton seconds. And clerk, if you can, well, then I need a motion to adopt. Let's see, we adopted the sub, and then we need a motion for a favorable report, and I'll move that. And you want to second that? And second by Senator Coleman Madison. If you can call the long roll, please. Thank you.
Senator Albritton? Senator Carnley? Senator Coleman? Senator Gudger? Senator Hatcher? Senator Hovey? Senator Kelly? Senator Coleman Madison? Senator Chambliss? Senator Elliott?
Bill receives favorable report. Thank you, members. See you on the floor.